Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for Empowered for Balance. And today we're going to talk about how we can break free from limiting beliefs as busy women of faith who are trying to shift from burnout to balance. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe by hitting the subscribe button. That way, every week when we upload new episodes, you can get the notification, and then that way you don't miss out on anything. Today, I have Nicole Jansen joining us, and I believe that we're going to have an awesome conversation together. Hi, Nicole. How are you?
I am well, Amma. How are you?
I am great. I'm great. Tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? Where do you live? What do you do? Everything.
Everything, all in 2 minutes. Well, yeah, thanks for asking. So I live down here in sunny California, San Diego, and I'm original, and I love it here. I really do. I am actually originally from Toronto, Canada, and so I came down here a number of years ago, I guess almost 10 years ago, and I coach entrepreneurs and business owners. And I've been doing that for over 15 years. I've been in business for over 30 years. And so it just became like an evolution of what I was already doing, that people started asking me to help them and work with them in their businesses. I also teach personality dynamics in
Mhm,
through that, and so my company Discover the Edge is about that. And then I also have a podcast called The Leaders of Transformation,
mhm.
which is it's actually been over 5 years now that I've been doing that. And I've been interviewing difference makers and world changers from around the world. And it's been amazing. We've had over, I think we're at 360 plus
Wow.
episodes. And so that's been a lot of fun.
How do you do it? How are you able to juggle all these things that you do?
Well, I think it started young for me because I watched my parents. They had garage businesses. They started other businesses, like another business from home. And my dad always was kind of dabbling in different things over the
Mm,
years. And so I watched them juggle, and actually, more than even juggle, they integrated. They learned how to integrate family and business and
yeah.
relaxation, all of it together. And so it wasn't like, and I think that's where we're also seeing that as, especially as entrepreneurs, is this shift from this idea of like 9 to 5 is my work time. And
Mhm.
then after that is family time. We're starting to see that, especially this year through
Yeah.
COVID, that it's being integrated as people are working from home. They're needing to juggle children's schedules and so forth. So we're actually, it's evolving, but it's kind of funny because it's actually going back to the way it was
Yeah.
way back in the day, where farmers, the kids went with them. The mother with her little baby, she'd be
Yep.
carrying her baby into the field, and right.
Yeah.
So we're going a little bit back to that, and maybe in a different way, but back to that. And so I learned that early on, and so I just learned to um, I I saw entrepreneurship as a lifestyle
Yeah.
rather than a vocation.
Yep.
And so that just gave me a different perspective on it. So I didn't feel like I was being torn in different directions all the time. You know how with moms, right? A lot of times I've noticed this with my clients, and
Mhm.
um I can't say my mother actually ever expressed that because of the integration, but a lot of our friends and so forth expressed that, where they felt like when they were in one place, they felt like they should be the other place. Like
Yeah.
when they were working, they felt like they should be at home with their kids.
Yep.
And when they were home with their kids, they thought that they should be working on their business or
Mhm.
whatever it is. And so always feeling torn. And so one of the things, as I said, I noticed with my mom is she never really made that distinction. She just made it all part of one, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like
Yeah.
harmony rather than
Yep.
trying to get balance. Like, I'm going to balance my time, this much
Mhm.
time here and this much time here. She's looked at it and said, let's harmonize these things.
Yeah.
And that's where I started working with, even helping out very early on with their home based business that they had. And then my brother was helping my dad at the garage. So we were kind of helping out
Yeah.
because it was all part of what we were like this, we were creating it together.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so I took that into my life throughout. So now with the different things that I do, I just look at it and I harmonize it, you
Yeah.
know, And one of the things that maybe we'll talk about is self-care.
Mm.
I see your sign behind you there, self-care.
Yep.
Integrating it, not like waiting for the 2 weeks of holiday at the
Wow.
end of the year. That's not enough. It's
Yeah.
how do you integrate it on a day-to-day basis,
Basis. Yep.
you know?
Exactly. Yep. 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 Yeah, I like that. And you mentioned limiting beliefs. What are they and where do they come from?
So I think we all have limiting beliefs. And I'm constantly even rooting out ones because we don't know, they're so innate, they're so ingrained in us that we don't even know that they're limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And so our limiting beliefs, first of all, let me just kind of define what a limiting belief is. It's something that
Mm-hmm.
holds you back.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's limiting, but it's a belief that you have about yourself. And so those limiting beliefs come from our parents. They empowering beliefs come from our parents as well, right? So both, but we're talking right now about the limiting beliefs. But from our parents, they may come from school. They may come from what a teacher said to you. I know I had teachers that said things to me like, "You'll never be good at writing," or "Your handwriting is horrible,"
Mm.
or "You're not good at this. You're good at this, but over here, but we're not going to pay attention to that. We're going to pay attention to the thing that you're not good at." You know how that works, right? So I'm like, really? But I'm a straight A student, but my handwriting, that you got to work on that. It's like, so we start to define ourselves by what people have told us.
Yeah.
We define ourselves by what we saw growing up.
Mm.
If all you saw was lack and scarcity and or fighting or abuse or strife, that's all you know. And so
Yeah.
how do you know unless you see something else? How do you don't have anything to compare it to?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's one. Of course, the big one is the world, the media, the news, all of, and especially right now because of social media,
Mm-hmm.
younger and younger kids are getting on social media, TikTok, and all this, and so they're gaining their belief systems, and many of those belief systems are limiting,
Yeah.
and they don't know how to just differentiate. The other one is, as a woman of faith, is understanding that, and I tell this to my clients, whether they believe in God or not, but it's really the lie. There's like a primary lie that we learn from the enemy when we're really young.
Mm.
And that it's kind of like if you think about a tap root, the way I look at it, it's like this tap root, and then there's all these branches off
Mm-hmm.
the sides, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
so that primary lie, it always it always stems from not being enough, but it might
Yeah.
sound different depending on the personality. I teach personalities, right? So everybody has a
Mm.
different personality
Yep.
style. And
Mm-hmm.
so and behavior preferences. And so some of us are very dominant, driving personalities. Some of us are inspiring, some of us are supportive and sort of laid back, and
Mm-hmm.
some of us are cautious and analytical, and so depending on our personality, the lie sounds differently. So it might sound like, I'm insignificant,
Yeah.
I'm not important,
Yeah.
I'm not loved,
Mm.
right? I'm overlooked,
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
not wanted, I'm not worthy,
Yeah.
I'm not good enough,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not smart
Mm-hmm.
enough, I'm not
Yeah.
pretty enough.
Mm.
And so it's like things happen in our life, and then make we make a decision about what that means in our life.
Yeah.
And then it becomes saying, so somebody could say something and it could be even innocuous,
Mm.
right? It could be something that just is like a passing comment, but it's how we allowed it to resonate with us,
Yeah.
how we allowed it to speak to us. And
Yeah.
I believe that the enemy kind of sits on our shoulder and says, you see,
Yep.
you're insignificant. Did you see that happen? And so it's like reinforcement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Identifies it, and then he makes it bigger and reinforce.
Mm.
See, you're unimportant. I'll give you a quick example, because I like it to be practical, not just
Mm-hmm.
conceptual. There was a woman that I was coaching, And it was actually, she wasn't even my client yet. It was just, I was doing some sessions. I had done a promotion at one point, and I had 1 hour to kind of get a sense of who she
Yeah.
was.
Mhm.
And it was like a free coaching session. So in that time, I was trying to figure out, like, who is this
Mhm.
person and what's driving
Yeah.
the behavior. So as I was listening to her, and she started talking about her life, and she was in her mid to late 50s, and she had been struggling in her life for years. And and things weren't working at work, things weren't working at in her relationships, in her health,
Mhm.
and it was just spilling out over all these areas. And she, there was this hiding that she was doing. So she was like cutting herself short, right?
Yeah.
Selling herself short. So I asked her about her upbringing, and I said, like, so tell me about when you were a kid, what was it like?
Yeah.
And she had been born, it was like 8 or 10 years after her sibling. Okay. So she had several
Yeah.
siblings, and then surprise,
Mhm.
years, years later, she comes along. So they were all older. So
Yeah.
at one point, she says, I distinctly remember, as we started to drill into this, she distinctly remembers this time where her parents were speaking. In particular, her father was there and was speaking, and her siblings were there, and they were talking like adult stuff, and she was too young to understand what was actually going on. And they didn't take the time
To
to
explain it.
explain it to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fairly innocuous. How many people have ever done that, right? You're having this conversation, you're not thinking about the child that's listening. But here's what happened in her mind. In her mind, she said, I'm insignificant.
Oh dear.
What I think doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then that got reinforced and
Mm.
reinforced and reinforced. And here she is, 55, nearly 60 years old, always being passed over for a promotion,
Mm.
not even wanting to get the promotion because she doesn't think she's worthy of it,
Yeah.
because what she has to say is not important.
Mm.
Wow. So that's a long answer to a short question, but it
Yep.
really, that's what's the most important thing, is
Mm.
it's not just where it comes from, but how it develops, and so that we can understand how to root those things out
Yeah.
and deal with them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you've given a good explanation of limiting beliefs and even how it affects us and how, these little things or these little beliefs go a long way to affect our life and everything. But how do we distinguish between limiting beliefs and facts? How do we do that, that distinction?
Yeah. Great question. Well, because the interesting thing with that is that a lot of times people will say to me, but that's just the facts,
Yeah.
right? You don't understand my situation. How many
Mm-hmm.
of us have ever heard
Mm-hmm.
that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't understand how I grew up. You don't understand what I'm dealing with. You don't
Yeah.
understand the limitations. And so actually what we end up doing, and I've taught sales for years, teaching people how to sell in business because it's an important part of growing a successful business. And it's so funny because people tell me I can't sell.
Mm.
It's just a fact. I just can't sell. And I say, well, and then they'll go on and explain all that. I'm saying, well, you're doing a really good job of selling me why you can't sell.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so it's like, what are you talking about? And I said, look, you know how to sell.
Yeah.
It's not a fact. This is an opinion. And so the difference between a limiting belief and a fact is I am 5'10".
Yeah.
It is 70 degrees out here, right? That's a fact. Now, the limiting belief is the meaning that we make about it.
Yeah. Mm.
So I grew up in, which I didn't, but I'm just using it as an example. I grew up in a home with a single mother, right? My father, I know many people, right? My father left home, right? That's the fact. The
Mm.
meaning that I made about it is that I was unwanted.
Mm.
I did something wrong. I was bad. Or my parents got divorced. And so it must have been because I did something wrong. How many times do we hear that as
Yeah.
children? And because it's our child mind. Adults, we wouldn't think that, but as a child, we're thinking with a child's mind.
Yeah.
And so that's where those impressionable years are so important. What do we say to our kids?
Yeah.
Because those kids grow up, and those little seeds that are planted
Yeah.
grow up, and they grow into big trees.
Yeah.
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 So
Mm.
facts, versus opinions.
Yep.
If it's an opinion, it's like it's a limiting belief, meaning that it can be changed. That's the beautiful thing about limiting beliefs. They
Mm-hmm.
can change.
Yeah.
I'm 5'10", or somebody who might say I'm 4'9". I might not be able to play basketball,
Mm,
right? If I'm 6, it's like Michael Jordan or whatever, Magic Johnson, probably not going to be a great horse jockey because
yeah.
of their size. It's a fact. They're 6 foot whatever. That's a fact. Now, and that determines that maybe, like I say, maybe they're not going to be a good horse jockey because they tend to be small.
Mm,
Doesn't mean they can't. It just means they will have some things to work around,
on,
right?
yeah.
And the poor horse. Hang on, right? But you see, you might do it for a hobby, but not for a career kind of thing.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so that's where when we start to get into those different, those distinctions, we can start to break free of those limiting beliefs that we have believed to be facts.
Yeah. Mm, mm, mm. So at that point of breaking free, how do we break free from these lies that we've believed growing up? And I believe that a lot of us women, struggle with these things where certain things happen when we were growing up, we were told certain things and it stuck with us. And that has been what has been informing our interpretation of things that happen around us. So how do we break free? What do we do? Is there any formula? Is there anything that we do to break free?
Sure. So I'll use my example with my dad. So my parents loved me and they loved my brother, and and it was a great family upbringing and so forth in many respects. There was a situation that happened which was, again, one of those innocuous situations,
Mm-hmm.
okay, where something happened and my dad really just thought, oh, it's just kids playing, and went on with his business. What I determined in my mind was that I couldn't trust him to protect me.
Mm,
So I was unsafe. I had to fend for myself, right? I'm on my own.
yeah.
So all of these things. So that played out and men couldn't be trusted because of the
Mm,
situation that had happened, right?
yeah.
And so and I was just like, I was 6 years old. Okay. So, and then it built, and then I had situations that happened along the way that reinforced that belief.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this was running the show. So
Mm,
when I was in my adulthood, here I'm looking back and I'm like, why is this happening to me? Right? Why is this all? And I'm like, why me? But when I looked back, so the answer to the question, the first step is awareness. First of all, I had to go back and figure out, where did this come from?
yeah.
First of all, be aware of that there is something there to consider, right? That there is
Yeah.
an issue there. For me, it was trust. There was a trust
Yeah.
issue. Okay. And so then I got what I put out, right? I
Mm-hmm.
got more people that I couldn't trust, right? And so, and on many levels, just not even just men, but also friends and so forth. I just, people couldn't be trusted. Okay.
Yeah.
So once I was like, wow, okay, so I see how that's kind of showing up in my life, because if you want to know what the roots are, you look at the fruits.
Yeah.
You got an apple tree, it's like, gee, I wonder, maybe there's some apple seeds down there, right?
Of course.
So you look at the roots. So you become aware of it, find out where it comes from, and you might need some help with someone who is from an outside perspective to help you to
Yeah.
walk through that process, because sometimes we block things. I know someone who was uh, he did a TED talk on this. He was physically abused as a child, but didn't remember any of it. Okay, had completely
Mm,
blocked it and started having flashbacks as an adult, and couldn't figure out what these were. Where are they coming from? But as he went
yeah.
through and started working through with a therapist, realized that he had actually been, but he had blocked that because he didn't even want to remember any of that. So if somebody
Yeah.
doesn't remember anything from their childhood, that might be something to question: is why don't you remember, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so you may, depending on the severity of it, you might want to have somebody help you with that. um and that's beyond, like, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a trained
Mm-hmm.
therapist, I
Mm-hmm.
coach. There's a difference, right?
Yes, of
but
course.
i but i have certainly helped people. So when it gets beyond a certain point, when I'm working with people, I will refer them to
Yeah.
someone if it's a much deeper issue. But a lot of the things that we're dealing with can be uprooted fairly quickly. And I mean, it takes time to reinforce a new belief pattern, but we can go through that. And I certainly have done that many times with my clients. But so then you go back and you identify where it's coming from
Yeah.
and start to create a new belief around it, a new meaning around that story. Start to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So you shed light. Where there is light, darkness must flee.
Yep.
So when you shed light on it and the truth, right? They say the truth will set you free. When you
Yep.
see the truth and you're like, wow, okay, got it. Now I get to choose a new belief around that.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't that my father didn't care about me or wasn't trying to protect me. Maybe he just didn't think there was anything that happened. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
know and I didn't tell him. Right? So he made assumptions. Okay. So first thing's awareness. Secondly, then you've got to decide what you're going to do with that.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to be aware and say, wow, that's what's running my life. It's another thing to say, what am I going to do with that?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got to do the work. I got to dig up the root. I got to get a
Yeah.
shovel and start digging it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's a decision. And also I'm a big believer in our words create our world. Reality is created by agreement is something else to take into consideration. Is our reality, the way that we see the world, is created by agreement. So what
Mm.
are we agreeing with?
Yeah.
So in this decision, I'm actually choosing to come out of agreement with one belief that I have and come into agreement with another.
Yep.
Sound familiar?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Can't serve two masters.
Nope.
Choose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I've actually had with clients done some fun exercises, fun in a sense that it's really neat how they're a little scared to do it at the beginning, but it makes it lighter, this experience of shifting, right? Is I say, look, you've been in agreement, you've been in relationship with fear and
Yeah.
with doubt and with shame.
Mm.
It's an abusive relationship. It's time to break up. It's time to break up.
Yeah.
So write a letter to fear, write a
Yeah.
letter to doubt, write a letter to
Yeah.
whatever, right? Shame, and say, I have had enough of you beating me up.
Mm.
It's over. Don't text me. Don't call me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't email me.
Yep.
Don't find me on Facebook. I'm going to block you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need
Yep.
metaphors, right? To work.
Yep.
So you're like, hey,
Exactly.
it's enough already. I'm going to go hang out with love.
Yeah.
I'm going to go hang out with joy. I'm going to
Yep.
go hang out with peace.
Mm.
And I'm going to write love letters to joy, to peace, to
Yeah.
God, who is
Yeah.
of course. And so we come into agreement. And I had somebody once say, well, I find myself starting off my day that way. I center myself, and then by halfway during the day, I find that peace is gone. And I say,
Yeah.
well, if you're in a relationship with something or someone, what do you do if you find them wandering off, right?
You reach
You're,
out to
you're
them.
you go like, hey, where'd you go?
Exactly.
I need you. And you call them back.
Yeah.
Same thing,
Yeah.
right? So awareness, make a decision,
Mm.
and then there's the reinforcement. Then there's the action. Faith without works is dead. So you
Yeah.
have to take an action to reinforce
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then action, and then another action, another action, because you reinforce, right?
Mm.
Repetition is the mother of skill. Reinforcement is how you build a new belief system. It's how you build muscle, any kind of muscle. It's a law of nature. It's reinforce, reinforce, reinforce.
Yeah.
So you speak it into existence. You
Yeah.
declare it. You
Yeah.
use your words. With your words, life and death are in the power of your tongue.
Yep.
With your words have creative power. God spoke the world into existence.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, right? Jesus came to fulfill the law, to fulfill the word. He is the word.
Yeah.
And we sometimes
Yeah.
overlook it, and it's like, wow, think about it. The word was God and God is word. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's how powerful we think about that as, oh, God over there. That's how powerful our words are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I like that because a lot of times when, when we are down and things are not going well, especially even with this pandemic going on, and based off everything we're seeing on TV, we tend to turn to, we start to believe everything we're seeing, or everything then it's like, okay, yeah, life is hard. Yes. But how about we speak the word? So I like that, speaking the word of God. Yep. And it's funny because a lot of people talk about affirmations and mantras and all that. And I always say that the best mantra is in the word of God, and the best affirmations are in the word of
Amen.
God. Yes. And that's even more powerful, because if you're speaking the word of God into your life, it's like speaking power into your life. So speaking the scriptures into our life, I do agree, is very important. Yep. I wanted us to tie this into life balance and stress and burnout and all that. How can breaking free from our limiting beliefs help us gain that balance, or that inner balance that we are looking for as women of faith?
Yes. Great question. Well, first of all, you can't have balance if you're out of balance, right? So if you are fighting against yourself, like I want to accomplish all these things, I describe it as having one foot on the gas pedal and one foot on the brake pedal.
Mm,
It's a rough ride.
yeah.
Okay, don't try it.
Try it. Yeah.
But we do all the
Yeah.
time in life,
Mm,
right? So we focus on, I want to get this accomplished and that accomplished and this accomplished over here and so forth. But on the other side, we say, I can never do this. This will never work.
yeah.
I'm tired.
Mm,
I'm going to be tired. It's going to be a long day.
mm,
And we have beliefs, because those are limiting beliefs,
yeah.
right? We have beliefs, we have declarations we declare with our words. We create our world. And so
Mm,
we actually declare and we prophesy, right, our future.
yeah.
And then we're surprised when it actually comes to pass. And it's like, well, wow, what if you were to actually take that skill that you have to actually prophesy your future
Yeah.
and use it to your advantage? So, one of the ways that you can get back into balance is by aligning yourself. So, stop fighting against yourself. Okay. Putting the brakes on subconsciously, because a lot of this is
Hmm.
happening is subconsciously. It's not conscious a lot of times. We're not aware of it. We're just doing it, like I was saying in the beginning, but it's
Hmm.
becoming aware of it, right? And
Yep.
realizing where you are actually fighting against yourself. Number two is to stop trying to do more than you're called to do, more than you're called to
Mm,
do. A lot of times, because we try to, it's like we're fighting this, so we actually have to work harder. We have to strive harder. We think we've got to. Here's a limiting belief. I have to say yes to everything.
oh, yes.
I'm in a new business. I can't afford to say no to that client. I can't afford to say no to this opportunity. Right? It's not exactly what I need, but I'm going to say yes to this because I need the money, or I
Yeah.
need the cash flow, or I'm going to say yes to this job, even though I know that it's really not what I want
Mm,
and it doesn't feel right, but I'm going to say
hmm.
yes to it. This relationship, I'm going to say yes to this relationship because I really want to be married, but it doesn't really feel right. And there's a couple of red flags, but my friends have said to me, but I really want to be married, and I'm getting to that age where I've got to have kids, or otherwise I won't be able to have kids. You see what we
Mm,
do, right? So we
yeah.
start saying yes to things that we shouldn't be saying yes to, and we
Yeah.
get out of balance, because when you're doing that inside, the truth.
Yeah.
Deep inside, not consciously maybe, but subconsciously, deep inside, at a spirit level, the truth. I believe that all of us have God planted his seed in us, so we know the truth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when we are in conflict with that, we get out of balance.
Mm,
And then we
mm,
start overworking, and then we get burned out, and we get burned out because we're not being true to ourselves, right?
yeah.
We're not hearing the signs. We're not paying attention to the signals. Hey, you got to take care of yourself a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
God actually declared that the Sabbath day
Yep.
was
Yep.
holy. I remember one time I said to him, and it was within the last 10 years. I think it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I said, okay, God, yes, I'll take the Sabbath day. I know that you want me to take the Sabbath day. And he talks to everybody the way they need to be spoken to, of course.
Yep.
So he's like, excuse me, I don't need you to take the Sabbath day. I'm fine. I'm God. You need the Sabbath day.
Exactly.
And it was
I
just
like
like,
that.
right? And I was like, I was like, oh, right. Yes, that's true. It's for my benefit.
Yeah.
The commandments, the 10 commandments are not rules and regulations. They are for my benefit.
Mm.
Hey, you know what? When you do these things, life doesn't work,
Yeah.
right? When you follow my commandments, life works better.
Yeah.
It just does.
Mm.
And so that's really important. And getting into with that, getting into flow with
Yeah.
God's purpose for your life.
Yep.
Find out, take the
Yeah.
time. And some people say, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? Well, I have news for you. Okay, so this is, I can solve that problem for everybody right now. We are
Good.
called to love God and to love one another as ourselves. Boom, there's your purpose.
Mm.
Now, how you live that out will be different
Yeah.
based on your personality, based on your strengths, based on your
Yep.
passion, based on your
Yep.
life experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part to work out. But the
Mm.
purpose is clear. Love God, love one another
Mm.
as yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We all have that. Go out and make disciples of all the world, or all the nations, right? Go have have dominion over all the world.
Yeah.
These are things that he's spoken to us, and they are universal to all of us,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But the way that we do that, like, I want to reinforce that the way that we do that is
Mm-hmm.
going to be unique based on each of us. So it's finding out, what is that way? What is that way that you do it that is unique to you?
Yeah.
And being in alignment, coming into agreement. Reality is created by agreement. Come into
Mm.
agreement with who God says you are.
Yep.
Come into agreement with what he has called you to. And when you are in
Mm-hmm.
alignment with him, it is much easier to say no to things that are not God's best.
Yeah.
It's easier to say no to activities and tasks, and even the good things. Good is the
Mm-hmm.
enemy of great, Jim Collins' book, very famous book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good is the enemy of great means that what are you saying yes to that is really good, but it's not great,
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
when you do that, what you do is you start to create an ease and grace to your life.
Yeah.
There's a flow. You say no more often,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because one of the reasons why we get out of balance is because we're saying yes
Yeah.
to too many things.
Yep.
And yes, I'm not saying, like, of course you've got your family and you've got enough to, but again, that comes back to that integration, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
trying to fight against, compete, having one thing compete. That's a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
There is abundance, right? God is a God of abundance. If you look around in the world, there is an abundance of time.
Mm.
Time doesn't run out. There's no scarcity of time. It's our perception of time that makes it scarce.
Yeah. Yeah.
It never runs out.
Yeah.
And there is no resource that runs out, right? There's no resource. If you look out, you see like the trees and the nature, there's no shortage.
Mm.
There's no shortage. The shortage is in our mind.
Mm.
That's where the shortage is. And when we come into agreement with the God of more than enough, we realize that there's no shortage. And if there's no shortage, I can have peace.
Yeah.
If there's no shortage, I don't have to worry about self-preservation and surviving. I can surrender my life. I
Mm.
can say, not my will, but your will be done, knowing that it will be good
Yep.
and it will
Yep.
be for my best.
Yeah. 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 I love that. And I love the fact that you mentioned that when we surrender to God, then he will supply all our needs. My God shall supply
Yes.
all my needs. And
Yes.
sometimes as, especially high achieving women, we think that our needs are going to be supplied by our hustle. So
Yes.
we have to hustle. Let me work 10 jobs. Let me do this. And that's when in reality, just surrendering our will and surrendering to the purpose, like you mentioned, surrendering our will and everything to God and allowing Him to direct our path makes the journey very easy, you know. And
Yes.
even as entrepreneurs, that's one of the struggles that we face, that sometimes we think, oh, I got to do everything and I got to do this and everybody's doing this, so I have to do that too. When in reality, sometimes it's just a matter of going to God and asking God, God, what next? What do I do next? What do you want me to do? You know,
Yes. What do
it
you
makes it the
say?
Lord.
Yes.
Exactly. It
The
makes it the
world
Lord.
says this.
Yep.
What do you say?
Yeah.
Because that's actually the ploy of the enemy, right? It's that
Yep.
hustle, it's
Yep.
that scarcity. There's not
Mm-hmm.
enough. You have to
Yep.
work hard for it. If I can't
Mm-hmm.
convince you that God doesn't exist, I'm going to convince you that you need to work hard and you need to
Yeah.
do good works. He knows the scripture. So he'll
Mm-hmm.
use that scripture and twist it and say, you need to work hard.
Yeah.
You need to work hard for your salvation. You need to work hard
Mm-hmm.
to please God. You need to work hard to get all the things, that the blessings. You need to earn the blessings. You need to earn the favor. You need to
Mm-hmm.
earn the provision. And it's a lie,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So he twists it. It's like there's this counterfeit,
Yep.
right? That seeps in there. And that's what is causing God's people, I believe, to be fatigued. Is because
Yeah.
it's the two-edged sword, right? The
Mm-hmm.
word is our guidepost. So the two-edged sword, it cuts through that to recognize what is truth
Mm-hmm.
and what is counterfeit. What is the authentic? What
Yeah.
is counterfeit?
Yep.
You got to watch out for that. If people are out of balance, and I was too, I've been burned out several times. That's why I know this one intimately well. And I was like, why is this happening? Then I had to go back, awareness,
Mm-hmm.
decision, action, right? And so, it's anyway, you can get me on this topic for a while, but it's like, I get really passionate about it. It's just that, it's coming back to that awareness that if you are out of balance in some way, you are out of alignment with God's purpose,
Yeah.
because what he orders, he pays for.
Mm.
His will, his bill, right?
Yeah. I
So,
like that.
and that's not mine, by the way. They can credit that to somebody said that, and I was like, I'm borrowing that one. So good, right? Well, you think about
Mm-hmm.
it. If God calls you to something, he will give you everything you need to be able to fulfill it. So if you're
Yeah.
doing something and feeling like you don't have enough to fulfill it, either A, you may be checking in, maybe it's being patient on him to provide it in
Yep.
his timing,
Yep.
or B, you're doing something that he has not called you to do and you're
Mm.
working harder than you need to,
Yep. Yep.
because
Yep.
he says, cast your burden on me, my right,
Mm.
cast your burden on me, and my yoke is light,
Yeah.
or my yoke is light,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And so it's not sitting on the couch and eating bonbons. I'm not
No.
suggesting that. Waiting upon the Lord is not sitting on the couch and waiting
Yep.
for him. Waiting it is an active thing,
Yeah.
right? To wait upon him is to, somebody else said, you can't steer a parked car. God can't steer a parked car. Well, he can actually. He can do anything, but he probably won't.
Mm.
He'll probably, though, just give you the keys so you
Yep.
can learn how to drive,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Mm. I love everything we've spoken about today. And I feel like it kind of like breaks down a lot of, because I say a lot of us women have a lot of mind games, the
Yes.
battles of the mind, where we are always things that we had growing up or things that we were told growing up are still affecting us now, even as we are older. And sometimes it's like a battle, because one thing is telling you this is who you are, and deep within you, this is not who you are, and you're struggling all the time. So I really appreciate you coming here, to break all this down for us and giving us these strategies. Before you go, what are your last words for us, just to sum everything up?
My last words. It sounds so final. What are my last words? Say trust God.
Yeah.
Trust him.
Mm,
I told you my story. The hardest thing that I had to do was to trust, because
mm,
I had a trust issue. I didn't trust others. Therefore, I didn't trust myself and my ability to make quality decisions.
mm.
right? On the based on the people that I was inviting into my life or
Yep.
all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I also had a hard time trusting God.
Yeah.
It's like, God, help me do this, help me do this, help me do this. Okay, you're not going to, so we got to get something done. And then I'd go off and try to do it on my own
Mm.
rather than trusting the waiting and
Yeah.
trusting in Him to know that He will provide
Yeah.
and He will give you, and He is your sustainer.
Yep.
He is your redeemer. He is your vindicator. He is your father. He is your friend.
Mm-hmm.
He is the lover of your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Trust Him.
Yeah.
Really trust Him.
Yep.
What
Yep.
does that look like? Even challenge yourself and say, what is it? What would it look like? I did this for myself. What would it look like? How would I show up today if I really, really trusted God like I say
Mm.
I do?
Yeah. 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 Where can we find you? What are your, social media websites? Where
Yeah,
can
you
we
can
find
stalk
you?
me on on social media. Yeah, so I'm all over social media, of course. I also have a website, discovertheedge.com is for my coaching. And if
Mm-hmm.
anybody's interested in unpacking this further and wanting to talk about their own situation, they can reach me through that website, discovertheedge.com. And I offer a free discovery session, so that's
Yep.
also available. And the podcast is Leaders of Transformation, and I have a website under that name, leadersoftransformation.com. And so you're welcome to check that out and listen to some of the interviews that I've done with people. That's been fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to come talk to us, Nicole. And thank you so much for sticking with us till the end. I believe this has been a transformational episode, and Nicole has taken the time to walk us through how we can break free from our limiting beliefs that are preventing us from moving forward in life. If you haven't subscribed yet, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because next week we're going to come your way with another powerful episode. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Empowered for Balance. It's been scrolling down there all through the episode. And take good care of yourself. And as Nicole said, don't forget to continue to trust God, because He's going to work it out for your good, no matter what you're going through. Take good care of yourself and have a lovely week. Bye.
Bye.